right, chat. CIG is very Bing chilling today. They, you know, for all the people who are complaining that there is no and has been no, sorry, let me mute SCL. Or let me mute the game, I should say. For people who have been frustrated and complaining that there's no video content, CIG went full Bing chilling and did an SCL exclusively for now for a Chinese bar citizen when we haven't had them in a long time. New market-ish. Definitely money in that market that they could extract that they, you know, have already ran through us for many, many years. So I totally understand why they're doing it. But what I don't understand is I just don't appreciate it necessarily as a fan of the game and things like that, that I feel like, you know, whether you've gotten my money yet or you're trying to get money from people, the idea of doing exclusive stuff for stuff like that, someone's jealous. Would jealousy be the word? I just like fairness. I know you're just memeing, but like, I just like fairness, and this just doesn't seem fair. But life's not fair, so it is what it is. But yeah, we're gonna watch this together, and we're gonna check this out, because what the heck? There's an SCL that happened that is that was not posted on their YouTube channel. So this is 42 minutes long. It is on Bilibili, and it is from a phone camera. And apparently they are going to post this next week or something, which is like, what? You should have just posted this that night. But okay, here it is. I'm kind of blown away that this was even a thing.
Should I explain what the show is? I can't change my format. I have to explain the show. It would take about 30 minutes out of our time to sit down with one of our safety developers and make them answer questions from you, the Star Citizen community.
Audio quality is horrible.
Our wonderful Chinese community. Somebody, I didn't get the name, sent us a massive, wonderful list of questions covering a huge variety of topics. Obviously,
So they pre-recorded this and have subtitles. This is why we haven't had content, because they have to make this.
Bing, bing, bing.
It's while we're hard at work getting the next release of Star Citizen now, working towards the closing of Squadron 42, whatnot. We can't pull a whole bunch of people necessary to get that full breadth of questions that you guys sent out. We were able to snag longtime friend and human meat puppet, vehicle director John Crew on the show. John?
Please buy my spaceships.
Related to vehicles and vehicle gameplay and stuff. So with that, we're going to jump right in, because I imagine there's a bunch of people sitting.
Oh my God. So maybe I'm not allowed to watch this actually for too long. Let's see. It just told me I can't watch it anymore, I think.
In a big convention hall and everything, probably don't.
It's going to ask me to log in over and over again. I don't care.
Just get to it. What if we told the story right now? Would that be no? We'll get right to it. So,
I don't care.
Vehicle gameplay questions from the Chinese community with John Crew. In questions in no particular order. Right off the bat, will there be more types?
No, not vehicle questions from the Chinese community, for the Chinese community, which is, that's the part that I'm like, that's not very fair. That's unfortunate that they did it this way.
Vehicles.
Yes, there's obviously we have a range of ground vehicles at the moment, but they're pretty much a select few manufacturers and either wheeled tank tracks and a couple of hover ones, but they don't really cover the full range. Like I know you've had Alberto on SL in the past doing like
The chopper.
the chopper and like the Origin hover tank, and I'm not going to say which ones we want to do, but we do want to do more in the sort of gaps we have, like, let's say, combat hover vehicles rather than transport ones.
Yeah, I've always had that. I feel like we've been doing this for 10 years now. I feel like at some point...
Are they going to make the motorcycle or what?
Some kind of like... mobile base that kind of hovers around, like a floating platform with doors and rooms and stuff like that. Something more akin to a ship's to a proper ship size, like a Cutlass size or a Freelancer size, but ground and hovering. So I always remember, you know, I grew up with G.I. Joe and stuff, and those mobile base things, like the Rolling Thunder.
Now we're gonna have mobile bases,
Especially if it hovers, which is going to confuse people.
but only for the
Like
Chinese community. Mobile bases.
Yeah, it's definitely something we've talked about, looked at in the past. We have obviously ground vehicle garages and we have ship hangars. And the slight problem that has always somewhat interfered with that plan of a larger ground
Bro, this guy's in front and he's just flirting with these girls. He's not even paying attention.
vehicle is our ground vehicle garages aren't big enough. Our ship hangars are, but not necessarily every ship hangar you can hover or drive a vehicle out of. Especially the ones with the ceiling exits. So it's coming up with a solution to that, and then we can have maybe not. I always forget the film with the big.
A man with priorities. True.
Mortal Engines.
Mortal Engines. I'm not gonna say that big, but probably not that big.
But we've both been here long enough. Never to say never, ever. Plus, I think if we're being...
I mean, it just straight up comes down to this, is the level of disconnected from reality this company is at this point. That's all that it is. Is like, it's totally fine if they did exclusive SCLs like a year ago, 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, would you care that much? I don't think I would care at all. I'd be like, oh, sweet, more content, cool. I'll watch it on Billy or whatever, and we'll like chill out and watch the cool thing that they did exclusively for the community, or like that specific bar citizen, I should say. But I'd always complain, DJ, please, bro. I'm coming from a place of privilege in so many ways that I would never complain about something like this. I have a bunch of devs who talk in my chat all the time. I get exclusive feedback and things that are happening in my chat all the time, and the rest of the community complains about it. If there's anybody who shouldn't complain about something like this, it's me. Right? I've seen other content creators complain about me. And in the same light of why not me? Why not me? That's not what's happening here. This is the whole community itself has been in a drought of content from this guy or this team, and this specific content, SCLs around questions from the community members with developers. But then it was made exclusively for a part of the community that is just starting to engage with Star Citizen. So there's more money there, and it just feels icky and ugly and gross. And that's what it is.
Candid and honest, I think we need more gameplay systems that utilize ground vehicle technologies.
It's just goofy.
There's a couple. I was just
timing is so bad. That's all it is.
Design director for the PU last week.
Where are we going?
When weather comes online and stuff, being able to keep ships out, but having like giant Sturgis style hog wild kind of events that require hundreds of ground vehicles in place and stuff would be super cool. And that's just casual conversation between me and the design director. It's not a commitment to an idea, but it's just I think there's a lot more we can do to incentivize the use of ground vehicles.
We have a lot.
Yeah, they have not done any of that. They have not incentivized ground vehicles very well. So let's see what happens, what John says.
Ground vehicles at the moment, but there isn't a lot of use, and the use they have sometimes is not ideal.
So
but they keep selling them, and they have not created the use for them yet, but they keep selling them. Like, that's the part of this game and this community I struggle with, dude. I struggle with so much. It's so hard, is that they keep making it harder to incentivize them. The more they make, the more difficult it will get to give the reasons to make them. I legitimately think, the whole weather thing at CitizenCon, I think that is legitimately the reason to Like that's why we saw it at CitizenCon, is like weather shouldn't be a priority, but I think that's how they want to utilize, like, hey, you can't fly here right now, maybe you should use ground vehicles. But again, they haven't put anything close enough to us to drive from one place to another. But that was another thing that was at CitizenCon, right, is having a bunch of things closer together, like the spoken wheel. Like, all right, the main base is here, but then there's going to be all these side bases that you can actually drive to. We kind of saw that with Pyro a little bit. So, yeah, I think that is something that's possible. You could tell that they're like working towards it at least a little bit.
We can incentivize that use more, then I think it'll be a natural kind of progression. Yeah, let's find out what other kind of ground vehicles we can add to this. All right.
So they want to do the use more.
Shift
Okay.
living quarters. What equipment and features are essential for gold standard?
So in terms of gold standards, living quarters really depends on the role of the ship. Obviously, some ships don't have living quarters, and that really is a soft gate for how far and long you can use that ship. If you don't have living quarters, eventually food, drink, hygiene, and I guess tiredness sort of become your
Did he just say tiredness?
limiting factors. So if you want a ship to go a long distance, you need living quarters, and then they come in different scales. We have the bare bones one with beds that currently let you log in and out. Beyond that, if you have food, you need somewhere to get rid of the food when it's being
Sleep
processed.
gameplay, chat.
They all have toilets or showers. And then for the more grandiose and luxurious ships, you go from here's a bunk bed with a food machine in the wall, and you sit and eat your food, or stand and eat your food, to you have a room which has a seat, bed, toilet. Military ships follow real-world military ships, and everyone doesn't have their own quarters. You have bunk rooms with shared mess and galley, all the way up to luxury ships like the 890, where everyone has essentially their own apartment with everything in it. So it really depends on.
And when you sleep in the 890 jump bed, you gain your stamina back faster, probably, right?
The role of the ship and the type of the ship. And it's got to have a bed. If it has food, it's got to have toilets. If it's a toilet, it might as well have a shower there as well.
And this is all in preparation for gameplay systems.
Yes.
Online.
Yeah, at the moment, they're very much.
They're literally hinting. Like, Jared was like, this is all preparation for gameplay systems that are coming online. Whoa. How in a multiplayer game would sleeping play out? It would have to be relatively quick, right? Like lie in the bed for 30 seconds and then gain buffs or something. You wouldn't be able to, like, hey, my character needs to sleep for 3 hours or 8 hours and speed up time, right? It just doesn't work that way.
Roleplay things, and we spend a lot of time internally arguing about toilets and showers.
We're not going to put a when on this, but if by the time your time here is done, my time here is done, if we don't have poop gameplay, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Maybe one of the directors will be very upset about that as well. If we don't have that.
This is the face of somebody who wants poop gameplay. And Chris, if you're there watching, sorry. On the other side of this,
Okay.
single-seat fighters. They obviously don't have living quarters or anything. Will single-seat fighters and similar ships allow for in-cockpit eating and drinking? This is, I love seeing this question right now.
They've already said yes to this like a million times.
Because there's this, this thing that happens where, you're running, you're getting your ship, you're having to take off to clear an LZ or whatever. You didn't get a chance to stop and top up your vitals beforehand. There's nothing worse than you're flying. And
How's volume, by the way?
Or whatever, and you die of thirst.
Turning it up.
Because you can't pop a cerveza.
Don't drink and fly.
So, will single-seat fighters and similar ships allow cockpit drinking and eating?
For me personally, yes, that is something I want. Ultimately, that is not my area of responsibility. It's more of an overall game
Whoa.
direction thing.
Okay, the fact that he's like going like, that's something I want. It's my understanding that this is something that was like literally on a roadmap at one point, if I can remember. It was listed as a card on the roadmap like a long time ago, or at least on the progress tracker, or said at an SCL like, we absolutely need to do that. And they do. right? You absolutely need to be able to pull out something when in a single seater, like without question. So I don't think this is a negotiable. Like this has to happen.
But I don't see why we wouldn't allow that in the future.
Are there plans for more ship weapon types? Obviously, we're seeing in the FPS weapons, the Volt weapons, which we talked about for a while, are finally making their journey from Squadron to the PU. Are there additional ship weapon types that are percolating in someone's head here?
There are a couple that, if I get my dates right, people will be seeing very soon in game. Again, things trickling from Squadron into Star Citizen.
Okay.
Beyond that, we haven't really looked into
Flak cannons, maybe?
new weapon types. It's more expanding the range of the existing ones. So at a very simplistic level, we have ballistic ones, we have energy ones.
Maybe beams, yeah.
ones. And then within that, you have cannons, repeaters, gatlings, and we have gaps in those lineups. Because you also have the size ranges within that. So it's filling those out, giving them different flavors first, before we check in another archetype.
For me, I mean, obviously, I'm a Star Wars guy and whatever, but my affinity for Star Trek has always made me want beam weapons. We talk about beam weapons. I feel like it comes up every year. And maybe not for you don't want to see a Gladius flying around with a beam out of its nose, whatever. But for these larger ships, like a Hammerhead and above, the ability to have like beams, it would just be such a cool visual.
It
And
might.
that's one of the things I every once in a while I just kind of hope. Is this the year of beam weapons?
I think this is the European weapons.
Oh, you think this is the year of beam? I faked a reaction there. I was aware that it's the year of beam weapons.
All right. So again, we're getting information here that is super interesting and exclusive in this format. It's so weird.
Can ballistic weapons have quick magazine swaps? Currently, their sustainability is limited to resupply or full weapon replacement. Is this intentional for balancing energy in ballistic weapons?
Yes, that is something we definitely want to do. Chris mentioned this to me again last week before. Going back to the previous topic about filling in the gaps, we're looking at filling in some of those gaps, and some of them are ballistic ones. And as part of the design for them, they do have, or will have, physical magazines that you can reload. So if they're on the outside of, say, Gladius, maybe Gladius by example, let's go Avenger.
What's so crazy, and this is the most frustrating thing about this game, you know that this was in the original Arena Commander? That there were magazines and they would reload for ballistic weapons? Like this was in the literally Arena Commander 0.9. And it's not in now. Very weird.
When they run out, you will need to
this is like a new idea.
Well, if you brought spare magazines or ammo housings with you, you can go replace them. A friend could go replace them with their supplies. Not every ship will be like that. It's not, say, practical on Hammerhead to have all 24 guns ballistic and someone's going to spend all their time outside the ship, EVAing around in combat trying to plug magazines in. For some ships, they will have.
So he's implying that it is not an automatic reload. That is what is in Arena Commander 0.9. So this is slightly different then, I guess. Okay. This is like stop the ship, get outside, reload the gun externally instead of internally. But we've seen ships that have internal reloads, right? Like on the Starlancer tag.
Internal reloading mechanism, and that will take the format of there will be a designated area in the ship.
Oh my God. Can we reload the phone? We need to go back a tiny bit.
And it'll be near the mechanism. Magazines in. For some ships, they will have essentially an internal reloading mechanism.
Some ships, internal reload.
There will be a designated area in the ship, which should hopefully be near the cargo supply. And it's similar to how base building will work in that you'll be taking your resources, in this case boxes of ammo, feeding it into the machine, which will then put it into the ship's internal storage, and then the ship itself will resupply to the weapons that need it. So
Okay, cool.
rather than you have to manage 24 individual
Yeah, this is awesome.
someone will just be feeding the crates of ammo in as needed.
My understanding is that that's the only real reason to have children.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't change because it's private for the Chinese community. Can the Mobi-Glass ship interface include remote control of doors, elevators, and cargo ramps? Oh, we've been talking about that for years.
Remote?
Desperately want this to be a thing, pushing on it internally. Again, it's
Remote
not
door
directly
opening.
in my wheelhouse, so it's subject to other teams' schedules and direction. But yes,
Yeah.
being able to lock, open doors from the Mobi-Glass for your ship.
Sorry, at the beginning of this year, this is a good time as any to reiterate this. You know, at the beginning of this year, we had Benoit on and talked about the big change in focus of this year. This year's focus for feature teams is
Yeah, like legitimately, that's so true, Jared. Legitimately, none of this stuff is happening because they're not working on any features.
on closing Squadron 42.
Sorry, I must pet my dog.
And,
She's too
improving
cute.
stability and performance without introducing the stability and hits that come with new features. We don't know how long it's going to last, but we're definitely still in that period right now where we're still refining, we're still fixing up the PU, stuff like this. So it's not a anytime soon kind of thing. Just to put a little expectations management on it. But a lot of these things, we've got this laundry list. I think there's things that we're all chomping at the bit.
I know that the team that's doing it has a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that players have asked for, like the 3D landing camera on the radar. Like,
That's the
they're doing
same
that
team.
before
Okay.
Yeah, but it's always been, it's the choice in years previous has always been go.
So it sounds like 3D landing camera is actually an internal priority that might be worked on or being worked on or very close to the next list of the priorities that those teams are working on based on what he just said. That is so speculative and probably completely wrong, but it just felt that way based on how he said
A
it.
new feature, go to new feature. And this year we made the choice to go to stability, to go to performance like this, and that benefit is very apparent. already.
Explorer's
There's
Landing
still
is
more
really
work to
good.
do. There's still more that we're going to continue to do. So while it can sometimes be hard to accept the weight for this thing that everybody wants and whatnot, I still think it's the right decision this year, and I think a lot of folks would probably agree. This focus on stability and performance this year is paramount. And then
If you were actually focusing on it fully 100% without doing stupid shit like this and selling, like putting out the patches to sell the ships before the patches are necessarily ready, I think it's been quite a bit of a mess around quantum travel and certain other things that really need fixing that still are not fixed, and that's the problem. Or it's not even around selling. Like I keep going back to Hathor. Just again, the timing of things. Hathor is awesome. Wicklow is awesome, and it's such an awesome thing to get. But I wonder if we would be in a better place if we didn't have any of those things happen in 4.1, and it was purely focused on stability, bug fixing, getting to the Mobi-Glass, getting to your quantum travel earlier than what we're seeing now, right? Again, there was an awesome quantum travel change this morning, or for me last night, but I played in the morning, and yeah, it's just weird. They haven't 100% put their focus on it, and it shows, I guess.
the eye of development saw will turn back to new features for the PU at some point. Can weapon and missile hardpoints carry other tools like fuel tanks or electronic pods?
That would be
something-
dumb.
Not those two specific things in particular, but again, not to give too much away, but in the very near future, we're going to start experimenting with some alternative options for what missile racks can carry.
Right. Yeah, you're of course talking about Invictus launcher.
Yes.
Yeah. So you'll see a couple new items that you can swap out both on the exterior of ships, on the airplanes, and interior.
Yeah.
Some component upgrades and stuff.
So are we implying that bombs can go on hardpoints on ships that aren't bombers now?
So look out for that.
Yeah, it's
the size 3 bombs, right?
Before flying to be here with everyone in this room.
Wait, when did those racks come in? Last night? I didn't go to Invictus today. I was so focused on the quantum travel thing.
Where I am.
Oh yeah, say something to future you.
Hello, please get a haircut before
Cool.
you go to China.
Currently, marine seats on ships feel underutilized. Will they have unique functions in the future?
Assuming this is
Drop
seats, yes, they sort of do already, but it's sort of underutilized or unnoticed feature in that we do impart G-forces onto loose actors within ships. So for dropped ships, if you have 20 people crammed in the back of the Valkyrie and the pilot does a hard turn, you're all ragdolling and falling over. It doesn't happen really as much as we want or the way we want it. It's very binary at the moment, like big impulse happens, everyone falls over. Whereas the way Chris has talked to me about it is your gravity generator on ships, which is not yet a physicalized item but will be, sort of lags in its compensation of gravity. So rather than being too much gravity, everyone fall over, it's hard turn, gravity's failing, everything starts getting loose, and if it continues...
Bro, this is so fucking stupid. So it all has to be cinematic like in a movie instead of... So now I have to sit down and stare at the wall instead of doing something and playing the video game. Because Chris doesn't want it that way. Think about that for a second.
Then people start, not necessarily falling over, but almost like EVAing inside the ship to the gravity.
Like, it's a cool idea in theory, but in practice in a video game, it's really fucking stupid. It's just unnecessary, right? And it's like, those are the Chris ideas that just need to get thrown in the trash. And he just needs to accept some of this stuff. It just isn't fun, right? And I can't stand it.
You cannot keep up with the force and the directions. So then, being sat in the seats, you're not having to deal with any of that. But the counter of that is we want to make dropships be more utilised. At the moment, they're probably not tanky enough to, like, they don't have enough health to survive the drop-in versus other ships.
Correct.
So we've got to bump that up.
Oh, no, we're going down again. Oh, I thought we were.
So literally the living manifestation of putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yes, they need to survive the drop for people to bother using them. So it's
Yeah.
sort of a typical thing.
They should have Giga Shields.
The Zeus's design is impressive, especially the interior. Will the Galaxy follow a similar style? Boy, I hope so.
Yes, obviously we talked about CitizenCon doing the RSI ships in sort of sequence. So we've done the Polaris, doing the Perseus at the moment.
Galaxy
and then
next?
The Galaxy will be after. The
Okay.
difference between the Galaxy is it's a civilian ship. It's not the RSI military thing. So the Polaris and Perseus share a lot of visual cues together in materials and lighting. It does take bits from the Zeus, but not everything. And you will see more.
God, I can only hear people in the thing talking. I can't hear him talking as much.
Of the Zeus styling in the Galaxy and other RSI chips this year. Will have that Zeus aesthetic rather than Polaris and Perseus.
So it'll have Zeus aesthetic rather than Polaris. There you go. For people who are just coming in, what is this video you're watching? This is an SCL that was created exclusively for a Chinese bar citizen that they took questions from them and posted it, have not posted it on their own YouTube. This is a phone version of it from somebody at the event that was posted on Bilibili, the Chinese version of YouTube. And apparently they're going to post it at some point, like during Invictus, apparently. So, I don't know.
The Zeus interior. Yeah, I personally, I'm not a big fan of the shape, but the interior just knocked me out of the and I love this.
Yeah, it's just very bizarre. But
you mentioned the Perseus. I read on Reddit that that's coming at a big decision.
It's not. Don't believe everything.
Will ships like the Caterpillar and Kraken have cargo lift functionality? Loading and unloading on the ground is currently.
Somebody's talking about the Kraken, like that ship's actually going to get made before 1.0.
The Caterpillar is an interesting.
The Caterpillar is an interesting pain point. So we recently changed the side doors to go down to the ground to sort of improve that, and it sort of improved some things, made other things worse. That's not how we want to do it. I think retrospectively, if we were designing the Caterpillar today, it would not have doors like that.
Well, no, knowing what we know today versus what we knew in 2016.
So we're sort of hamstrung by that design.
Why?
Whether we will like entirely redo that, I don't know yet. But we do, if it stays in that design, we do still want to have the 3 stages.
Okay, before he goes into like what they want to do, why worry about the, like, hey, if we were going to go back in time and do it again, this is what we would do? Just tell every Caterpillar owner that we're going to go back and do it again. We're going to remake it. So I know it's shit now, but it's going to be awesome. And hopefully they do. He's not committing to it, is what I'm saying. I'm discussing the, like, eventually one day, I don't know if it's before 1.0 or after 1.0, we are going to fix this because we know you love that ship and we know you want to use it. But I'm not going to say when. And it sounds like if they are going to fix it, this is what they're going to do. And he's going to explain it.
8 doors. The current limitation with the existing door tech, and I saw someone moaning on Reddit about this today. Doors in Star Citizen have 2 states, open or closed. The Caterpillar doors, side doors, are doors, so they are closed or they're open, and it's just where that open state is. So we chose to move it all the way down to the ground to improve things. We can't currently add a 3rd interim state, so open and keep it there. We do want to have that state, but that, again, it's a feature. Anyone that's ever worked in games knows how horrendously complicated doors are. It's the big need.
Doors and elevators.
Doors and elevators. And we can't use elevators or transits because they're essentially using platforms, which we could get them to rotate and translate, but you wouldn't be able to have all the synchronized animation for all the pistons on the side. That's why we have to use doors. That's why we're stuck with 2 states.
Trying to think about how those patch notes would go off. We've added 8 elevators to your Caterpillar. No! The deadliest shit in the books.
No? Would you be upset? I wouldn't be.
And then the Kraken, I honestly can't remember right now how the main entrance way to the cargo bay is. I think
Also, the fact that they have ignored the player feedback on the Caterpillar itself, where the cargo grid was the door, the actual door part, and you would stack all of the cargo, and the cargo would go into the bay, and the bay would just be an empty hole that the cargo would fold into, which has been shown multiple times. And that they don't want to do that aspect of it, I do find to be quite odd. It can remain a door if you deal with all the cargo on the ground outside of the ship than inside of it. And I would be perfectly fine with that, but yeah.
it does have a lift on the
I
bottom.
think it just kind of tips on the side.
It just all falls out.
Drops everything.
But we are going to be looking again at the Kraken concept soon.
We're going to look at the
Because
Kraken
hopefully
concept
towards the end of
soon.
this year, it will be going into pre-production.
You just gave some.
So again, another exclusive thing. I don't know if you guys heard that. Towards the end of this year, the Carrack is going, or the Kraken is going into pre-production. So I made the joke that this thing is not going to get made. Okay, I guess it is going to get made.
Somebody hard towards the end of this year. Going into production.
Going in pre-production.
Not coming out this year.
Going into pre-production, whatever that means. So it's far away, but the fact that they're going to work on it is a surprise to me.
Read my lips, no new Kraken.
I just assumed that was 100% a post 1.0 ship, but I guess not.
Wow, that's a George H.W. Bush.
Wow, I'm old.
Can the reclaimer... Oh, here's a different one. Can the Reclaimer's rear cargo platform be adjusted to avoid blocking 8 SCU plus of cargo?
I'm curious.
Again, another ship, knowing what we know today, would not exist in its current form. The Reclaimer is an interesting one. I'm aware of that issue. It's something, if I can find someone free to do it, but it's a snowball effect with the Reclaimer. Everything is, the way it was built back in the day is not conducive to quick and easy changes. It's sort of, you change that, you end up having to change a lot of the rear rooms. And this is an interesting quirk we found when we did the whole scene. So obviously the whole scene took forever to come out. We did a lot of the work 2017, 2017, and then we waited years for the features to be ready. And when we came back to it, the way we build ships now is different to then.
Oh yeah.
And the rooms we hadn't done, we did, and the two clashed visually significantly. So we sort of ended up having to downgrade the current art style and slightly upgrade the old art style to make it not look so jarring, and the Reclaimer would suffer from the same thing. So
Who cares?
in my opinion, if there's something quick and easy we can do, we'll do it. But that whole interior needs a complete...
Function over form for that ship in particular. If they're able to do it, that would be amazing. But they're trying to like do both, and it would be really difficult. Just make the door 10 pixels higher. It clearly is not that easy. Otherwise, I feel like they would have done it.
Redo, but reimagining.
Newer citizens might not know, folks who have followed the project for 13 years would definitely be able to tell folks about how process and procedure have changed and evolved over the years. You know, the way we make anything in 2016 was not the way we were thinking about doing it in 2012. It's not the way that we learned to do it in 2020, and it's not the way that we've come to understand things in 2025. There's a reason we call it game development, not game construction. Drink. He said the thing, and whatnot. That it's so many of these ships. I can't help but notice the Caterpillar, the whole scene. I mean, these are old Jim Martin ships who I love, who was at the very beginning, along with Ryan Church, developing these things before we had things like metrics, before we understood all of our game mechanics and how they would actually function versus how we imagined they would function.
Meanwhile, the new ships with cargo still don't make any sense with their metrics. So what the fuck are they talking about?
And so like this, the
Zeus is horrible.
I think we've started seeing, obviously we've started seeing Mark IIs and stuff with like the Hornets and stuff like this. And I imagine some ships will probably just get a Mark II and whatnot. Other ships, like the Reclaimer, the Caterpillar, need some more TLC, need some more, time going back and fixing this.
What is this? What is this up here? I can literally click like on this thing. People like the Mark II, I guess, ideas. What is
the
that?
The question that is starting to pop up more and more is what necessitates or drives the reason for a Mark II versus just update the existing one. And really that comes down to, we could do a Mark II for something that functions, and we just want to sort of deprecate the visual style of it. The Hornets, for example, there's nothing wrong with the Mark I Hornets. We just wanted to have...
No, there's plenty wrong with the Mark I Hornets. The moment you made the Mark IIs, they're now shit compared to the Mark IIs. Now there's tons of things that are wrong with them because the Mark IIs are just better. What a clown show.
The cooler Mark II Hornets visually out there. But for things like the Reclaimer, if we made a Mark II Reclaimer, we've still got to make the Mark I Reclaimer actually function how it's supposed to function with the salvage mechanic. At which point, that's redoing a lot of it. Yeah,
that's a very odd mentality. Do people actually please? Because I'm not as much of a PvPer, and I definitely wouldn't PvE in those ships because there's just better ones to do it in as a solo player. Is anybody using the original Mark I Hornets anymore? They have the data. They must know the answers to this question, and their answers must be yes. But just from my perspective, that's obviously biased. I don't think anybody would use them because you just see F7A Mark IIs everywhere. Hornet Ghost Mark IIs everywhere, right? In comparison to the non-Mark IIs, right?
So there won't be like a Mark II reclaimer. The amount of work will just be an updated reclaimer.
Just
Weird.
a couple more questions, and we'll wrap up here. Modules are often expensive optional additions. Will modules for ships like the Galaxy be available for in-game currency upon release, so players aren't stuck with half-functional ships?
Yeah, okay.
The modules, it's an interesting one.
That's like the
Part of it's
rooms.
an economy reason, part of it's a marketing reason, and part of it is
It's pledge law.
Did this motherfucker just say, hey, marketing reason? What the fuck?
yeah.
Like this.
The Retaliator is really the only one that we've released with modules, and it sort of had an awkward. There was two ways to get a Retaliator.
Let's see what he
at the
means
time.
by
There
that.
was the original pledge, which it was a bomber. It wasn't modular.
Yeah.
And then there's the modular version. When that was announced, you couldn't get the bomber one anymore. So people
he means
were
marketing
paying for
mistake,
the
basically.
base one
Okay.
with no modules. And then you opted into the modules after that. So when we came to deliver it, we had to deliver both of them. So there was a lot of people that had the bomber one as like a loaner ship for their one without it, and were surprised that they didn't have anything. And the current rules set is it's the same as any new ship, that it will be available in game
After
after
time.
X amount of time from its actual release. So.
I know the amount of time. Right now, I just can't remember it specifically. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
There is no amount of time, Jared, because it's been different every single thing that you've released. The Atlas came super quick. The Geo being in game did not happen as quick as the regular Atlas. Other ships have went literally a year plus without being in game, and there's certain ships that are not available in game in the traditional way, which is pretty cool how they did it, like the Hornet Mark II, right? You can get it in game via the CZs, so they did some things. Maybe that's what they meant by marketing reasons. But yeah, there is no specific date. They may have a date internally, but they do not follow it. That's for sure. There's difference. Now, maybe they have a date based on the size or the price or something. I have no idea. But as somebody who follows that extraordinarily closely and has... you're welcome. Some of you have notified the devs on, hey, you missed this, and it's not available in game. And then all of a sudden in the next PTU patch, it's in game. They don't follow whatever they have internally
right now, but it comes down to when there's, again, I'm not going to get into it. There's general marketing stuff, and then there's actually some laws and crowdfunding and pledge that you have to deliver the thing to those people who pay money before you can give it to stuff like that and whatever. So I don't have to worry about that stuff, which is why I don't have the information.
I don't know if it's the case right now, but
Wait, did they just blame laws on delivering something to somebody who paid for it before somebody who didn't? There's no fucking way there's a law for that.
Retaliator modules.
No way that's a thing. As long as you deliver it to the person who paid it, it doesn't matter if the person has to earn it in the game. There's no fucking way that there are ship laws. Exactly. There's no way. That is insane. There is no way that somebody... whatever politician made that law would have gotten thrown out.
Maybe they're not in the in-game shops.
It was a Star Citizen fan who was, concierge who went somewhere.
Maybe there might be a technical reason why they're not in there. Like, I genuinely don't know, but we can look into it.
CR law.
Some of those have been around for long enough.
Those should have passed the date requirement.
It might be true. It literally might be true because there's crazy laws out there, but I just don't buy that one at all. I don't know what they're trying to protect or what they're trying to do there. I don't see anything wrong, just to be clear, with them doing it the way they're doing it, as long as they stuck to the cadence properly, which is deliver a ship in one patch, the next patch it's available in game, or something like that, whatever their cadence actually is. I have no issue with that whatsoever. I really don't, because I do think that players who backed should get their thing. And then I do like the idea of a player being excited for their opportunity. Have you ever seen like a player have some cool thing that you don't have in the game and then you're told how to get it? It's something to strive towards. So it isn't exactly like good that they do this, but it's not as bad as some people are making it out to be. I don't think it doesn't bother me as much. There's so much more that bothers me.
So yeah.
Can ship hull damage and breakage effects, as seen in Squadron 42? That's Maelstrom.
It could be indirectly with loot
be
boxes and stuff.
implemented
Yeah.
in
Yes, that is the plan. Maelstrom is full speed ahead in Squadron. My team and a lot of other teams are working on it.
Maelstrom's in
currently.
Squadron.
I think they are about, at the time of recording, about, I'm going to say, 70% of the way through converting
that's more than I would have
the ship required for Squadron
Oh, okay.
to Maelstrom. So it's been built in a way that facilitates, we take the existing damage model that's in Star Citizen, press a few buttons, that's the Maelstrom version. It visually behaves the same, but it's using all the physical behaviours under the hood of it. That's converted to Maelstrom, that's the 70% quote. After that, tech art and art can go in and chop it up more if they wish.
Make it better,
Make
more
it
dynamic.
better, shinier, break into more parts, make it more believable. And that's been done on a case-by-case basis. So we're doing all the hero ships.
This guy's getting, his arm is getting so tired.
First, so the actual fully Maelstrom version is a lot lower percentage. But overall, we're quite a long way through it. There's a lot of ships used in Squadron, but a lot of them are only used once, so they're just going to get.
We're going down again.
Ported to Maelstrom, done.
I'm going to give you a little behind the scenes. It was just a week or two ago when I messaged Sean about something.
Bro, this guy's 100% falling asleep. 100%. That was totally one of these. That just happened.
Whatever. And Jesse looked at me. He's like, "I'm in Maelstrom now. Can I get to it later?" I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah. It's a whole new way of thinking about. So again, like you said just before, things we did years ago. In the case of Maelstrom, things we did weeks ago is not how we need to do things going forward.
Oh,
That's
God.
definitely underway.
Yeah.
That's
And
so
it all does
dangerous and
generally
bad
well,
for now, but
and
it'll be good long term.
Behaves physically correctly, and you see the visual result. Like all those ships
Maelstrom's
in,
going to be cool.
the Citizen Command Squadron gameplay video, those were all Maelstrom, and they break up differently to how things do in the PvE now.
How is weight calculated?
Is that
And what
me? Am I
effects
at the
such
event?
as ship overloading. We were just talking about that.
Yeah, it's all related. There's two answers to this, both are the correct answer, but it depends what project you're working on. So obviously a Squadron is Maelstrom, and that does a lot of the work for you. So depending on the material you apply to the ship, or per part of the ship, like you could have left wing be one material, right wing be another. You set the thickness of it. It calculates the surface area of that part based on the
Bro, my
physics.
dude is
measure
done.
it. Does some clever maths for the thickness value provided, and then that part is that weight.
Also, you can tell how much John's been in Montreal because he just literally is wearing a Montreal Canadian sweatshirt.
So you apply a titanium wing, it's lighter than a steel wing, and it all just goes into the physics engine and just works to the end. Star Citizen is different because we don't have Maelstrom, and that it's more designery numbered. And the process we've done for years is you take a rough volume of the ship, and 3ds Max calculates the volume of it, and we put it into an Excel that I made years ago. And that you take that volume, you take away the volume of the interior space, which is another mesh. That gives you a volume of the hull. You multiply that by a density value we decided, which has some plus or minus, plus 5% for Aegis because it's a combat manufacturing versus Origin,
Bro, all this guy had to do was stay awake for 42
which
minutes.
is all high-tech and carbon fibre-y, plasticky stuff. That gives you a mass for the entire ship, and you put that on the entire ship, and then the game
This
engine
happened
goes,
yesterday.
About 50% of the volume of this ship is this part, so I'm going to put 50% of that mass here, and that's why occasionally you see things behave oddly because the physics is misinterpreted. Maybe the asset has a
Hold
slightly
on,
dodgy
brother!
physics proxy, and it thinks it's got 5% of the mass when it should have 50% of the mass, and it flies off to space, or the reverse. So again, that's the reason for having Maelstrom, is that those designer numbers go away to be created with ones that are actually fully derived from the assets themselves. It does impact flight.
It impacts flight.
In Star Citizen, if you strip weapons and components off your ship, you will fly slightly faster. The ships are quite...
Also, if you didn't notice in the discussions around components changing, weight was one of the things in competition grade components, because they knew this is really cool, because they knew what we used to do, because this is a thing that's been in Star Citizen forever. When we first started racing, we take the guns, the shields, you take everything off your M50, and your ship would literally fly faster.
quite heavy, so you don't... Removing a 100-kilo gun off your 60-ton spaceship isn't going to move the needle
It does in the current Star Citizen.
that much.
Yeah, like some people take wings off. Yeah, that's right.
But it does, and cargo will impact it. It doesn't currently for any ship where the cargo grid is inside, because we're intentionally ignoring that at the moment. But for ships like the Hull C, Hull A, the Raft now...
Wait, so it doesn't do it. They're intentionally ignoring it for the moment. That's interesting. But the Hull C and Hull A are affected. Okay.
Everyone's new favourite ship. If it's on the outside of the ship, it does account for that. So you'll feel like if you've loaded your raft up with gold, it's going to fly a lot slower and heavier than one that is empty.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, when Maelstrom fully comes online, all these calculations
This is cool.
are more accurate.
But he fell asleep again. He doesn't think it's cool.
I've always thought it would be cool that, you know, you got the folks like Atmo and like XGR and stuff that do the races, like to do a cargo race. Like you have to load up 200 tons of cargo, whatever. However you want to do it. You want to do it on the exterior, like whatever. But there has to be that much cargo on the ship, and whatever, just to kind of affect the handling.
That's true for the Hull C already. Apparently, also the Hull A and the Raft. So these are that's what we're talking about. Like, these things are already in game. Cutlet, as far as I know, was the first one to find the Hull C. They were pirating, and he couldn't get off the planet's surface.
And you have to catch your ship and swap out your components as necessary, you know, to help with it. So there's some chocolates off your ship to reduce the weight.
I tell you what, the best content has been the camera guy the whole time. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, like maybe you clip a bit of your ship intentionally so that breaks. So it's like, I don't need that to go, and you pick up a little more speed and stuff like that. It's, you know, I'm always more interested in like a cannonball run style. Anything you can do to turn a race on its head and make it more crazy.
The girls left on the front row. Bro, how did you even notice something like that? What the fuck?
Two more questions. I'm going to ask one. This actually isn't on the list. I'm going to add one. Yesterday,
We found the Coomer in chat.
In the PTU, folks
The
saw
Gooner.
Some handling changes.
Yes.
To capital ships.
Yeah.
I think at that point it's only rolled out for the Polaris, and whether it goes to the 890, John. So that's I don't know the answer to that yet. But these handling changes, the Polaris has been. The Polaris has sort of been everywhere and everyone's enemy for a little bit. It's like we see the posts where people are like, oh, this would have been great if I didn't have to encounter a Polaris right there. Because they're just too damn fast. Yeah. They're too damn fast, they're too damn zippy. Not anymore. So talk to me about this change that we're making.
Yeah.
I think they still are a bit zippy,
Out
no?
of the box, the Polaris was too fast and too agile. We were a bit concerned about making it too slow. It was like the first proper military capital ship in the game, but we played it safe too far on the agility side now, and hopefully now what is live at the time people are watching this is a much slower. It's still, the Polaris in lore was a fast capital ship. It's supposed to be fast and agile, but that's relative
to other capitals.
So
not to a Gladys.
yeah, you're not going to be dogfighting Hornets in your Polaris. So we did slow it down pretty much in all aspects in terms of speed, boost, rotational rates and accelerations, and done the same across the other capital ships. So technically the only
You
other
went
capital
down
ship
again, boys.
is the 890. The claims are still weird. It wasn't a capital ship, but it now has capital items. But just we've gone back and looked at them all and made sure they were all.
It's also affecting the NPC. When people steal an Idris, and now they're going to notice that it handles differently.
The same whenever an NPC javelin turns up. They are all slower.
It literally is.
They're not designed to be good in atmosphere. So hopefully all the sights of Polaris's nose down over mining craters should start disappearing, because bringing a capital ship into atmosphere needs to be a big
Brother, it better be all ships nosing down gets resolved.
event.
All of them.
This is a big commitment.
Thank you for the gifted sub
should be
for the
assistant
cameraman. I appreciate it.
Some of them can't even get back out of atmosphere unless they have dedicated VTOLs. So we just don't want to see these big ships everywhere. They should be big events when we come across them, not 10 and penny.
There's a line, if I remember, in the squadron script from the pilot of I can't remember from the Javelin or the Idris, where they're like, a fighter is supposed to be reactive, and a capital ship, you're supposed to plan. You're supposed to plan every maneuver, 3 steps ahead and whatnot. And that's been in the squadron script since like 2015. So
yeah, we know because you fucking leaked it.
I'm personally excited to see these things behave more like these giant fucking. Get the beep, live beep. Hey, if you're translating it, when you're translating this, make it not a bad word. I'm excited to see them more lumbering and more imposing and more like a whale, like a whale in space as opposed to.
I think there's other levers we're going to start pulling as well on them in terms of like fuel and insurance timers, because they are big events. Like if you're bringing one out, sure you can use it as your daily driver. There will be downsides and consequences to that if you don't protect it.
And of course, this is not the first set of changes. This won't be the last set of changes. This is just the next set of changes. The beautiful thing about Star Citizen and running a live environment in the middle of our development is that we get to try a thing and then let it go for a month, and try a thing, let it go for a month. It's like this with this new release.
What about letting something go for 13 years?
Gave us this year. We've already done 4 patches this year. We're about to do our 5th one by the time folks watch this. Which is insane. We're not even halfway through the year yet. There'll be a lot more opportunities to try something, tweak it, try something, tweak it, try something.
We have a lot of ships in the game. There's still a fair amount to come. So it's always a delicate balancing act between balancing for the game we have now
and the game we have
in the future. And sometimes we go a bit too close one way or the other. So you'll see things like, oh, this isn't that better than the others.
Yeah.
And then we have to do a realignment to spread out the range. Like we did a pass recently on the heavy fighters to sort of. There's all the F8 owners complaining about it, but to make space for there to be a slow, heavy, tanky one and a fast one relative for a heavy fighter, and gaps in there to slot other options in. And it's the same.
Yeah, but I think they do all this stuff based in theory and not in actual action, right? Because the smaller fast one's always going to be better than the tanky one, because the way the flight model works is it's just a DPS race. So if you're actually able to avoid fire, you're going to win the fight. And they refuse to ever accept that making room for a smaller, more nimble fast ship versus a slow tanky one just won't work, I don't think. Or it's they just haven't balanced it that well. I have no idea.
Across all of them, and that range is going to grow and contract.
They improved turrets, not for PvP though. For PvE, they improved turrets greatly, but PvP it has really no effect on it. Unfortunately, they haven't done the improvements that they need to for that. I hope that's what comes next, is faster bullet velocity as well as longer range because of the faster bullet velocity on turrets. But we'll see on that.
As more ships get added in the game.
I feel like Zumi Polaris was us being just as excited to get it out as players were, and let folks have fun with it.
Polaris is amazing.
I feel like this change was always there.
Yeah,
it was always
coming.
So,
It was just a case of when
yeah.
we did it.
And as new flight characteristics, I know who one starts with J. I keep wanting to say Juke. It's not Juke.
Jerk.
Jerk.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, as Jerk
Sure.
comes online, so that'll change everything.
Jerk and control services will change the landscape again.
Yeah.
Flight.
So it's just I want to caution people against doom and gloom. When you see these changes come out 1 month, remember there's still work being done, Jerk and control services, and the new almost monthly cadence of releases this entire
Yes.
year means that we
When they mention Jerk, they're talking about me. Yes.
get opportunities to try something and try something and try something and try something.
Yeah.
So, last question before I go. I'll let you go here. We've got a lot of good information. This episode is obviously going to the members of our Chinese community to those big events that are on that I've never been invited to. Tyler, I want to go.
Come find me. Tyler.
We're gonna release this to the public sometime during Invictus and whatnot, because it's everybody deserves to have the information. We're giving them these questions
Okay,
came from
I
the
mean-
Chinese community where you give them their first shot at seeing them and stuff like that. That was a nice little thing we can do.
It can be construed as a nice thing to do, but can also be construed as like a kind of shitty thing to do to everyone else to make everybody wait, which is why I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to watch it now. And I'll watch it in a way that, maybe it's not the best quality or whatever, but bro, if we've had a drought of content and you've seen it on the forums that people are like, man, I really like the content, really wish I could see it, and then give something like, it's not that it's necessarily a bad thing to do. It is a nice thing to do to the Chinese community. I don't think anybody has an issue with that. It's just straight up like you feel disconnected because we have been saying, hey, talk to us, man. And they haven't, and then they went and did this. It's the timing. That's it. It's the timing is really, really bad to do this.
I want to ask you about the ships that are coming this year. Well, we've got a lot of good information here. I want something that folks aren't expecting. Can you tell me, just name for me, one ship that's coming this year that folks might not know about?
So go for the RSI Meteor.
The RSI Meteor.
I mean, I would have thought that was the salvage ship, but now I don't know.
What is that?
What is it?
Maybe I don't do
Just it punches above its weight. Get another drink in.
The RSI Meteor just drops a macho man elbow from the top rope. All right, cool. The RSI Meteor. Yeah, so I look forward to that at some point.
Everyone at Pipeline probably already knows what it is.
Right, for the people are wondering. I want to see what they can invoke from the name and manufacturer and see who's right.
I mean, meteor sounds like mining, but yeah, who knows?
So yeah, thank you for watching, everybody. This has been Star Citizen Not So Live with John Crew. And of course, if you're watching it a little bit later during Invictus, I hope you found the show informative and delightful, as John Crew always is.
It was incredibly informative. There was a lot of good stuff there.
You want to go spend some time with your puppet? You haven't visited your puppet.
I haven't researched. Shall I go get my puppet?
You want to go get it right now?
I'll go get it right now.
You've ignored him. You've had your child since November of last year, and you've done nothing with him. You don't visit. You certainly don't send alimony or anything. It's. Oh, you know they brought you back. They brought you back.
A bad
We'll
father.
go back to it.
Okay.
This is just as awkward as it is.
Well, John, you are many things. You are not a puppeteer.
No. Gotta find where my mouth is inside it.
I know where's mine.
There we go.
There you go. Say something John Crew would never say.
I hate great chips.
Don't think that. That quite fits the mandate. All right, folks.
You know how you felt about the end of Eve Fan Fest? This is that for me. I'm feeling it as
Thanks for
well.
watching. Take care. We'll see you next week for. I don't know when this airs, but we'll see you for another show. There's always another show.
There's
Bye,
always
everybody.
another show. It doesn't. That's the problem. Is there? There hasn't been. But all right. I mean, that was really interesting. That was really informative. And yeah, that should be available for everybody. That's kind of silly that it isn't. Um, also, just this was the end of the thing. Hold on. This is Anime Star Citizen. All right. So that happened. And I don't know if it should have happened at all in this way, but it happened. It was informative. It's literally, I think, what we needed right now. And yeah. I know, like, I could have waited and watched it when it came out for this channel. I just don't think um I couldn't wait. Like, I couldn't wait. I wanted to see it. I wanted to hear what was said about this stuff. I could not wait. And I don't think I should have to wait, right? And that's the difference. I shouldn't have to wait. It should have just came out when this came out. It didn't have to be timed on Invictus. None of that information was Invictus timed. It should have just came out, right? Put it out for the bar citizens that night. Immediately after that, put it out. It's kind of silly. And yeah, I'll re-react to it again in better quality on YouTube. So weird, goofy. They did it. I hope they hear the feedback on this. Is like, dude, come on, bad timing, guys. Really disconnected, but great show, great information, and hopefully they act on some of the information, and that's it. So weird.